Good morning, everybody. We are very excited to have you join us on our webinar. And I think we're going to be discussing a topic that's quite relevant and also fairly new to our country. So we thought it would be quite informative for people who are just wanting to know about what the remote international opportunities we have are, or wanting to apply for these types of opportunities. Both Adrian and I are going to touch on different topics related to this topic, and our hope is that we can give you some valuable information and also answer some questions that you might have, and just more importantly share our experience with you, because that's what we can talk on. Some of the topics that we are wanting to discuss today, and Adrian will be sharing slides with you as we go along, is what has brought about this change, because again, it is fairly new, and the increase has been substantial in the last few years. And then where to look for international remote work opportunities, what skills are in demand and ways to market your skill set, requirements and expectations with working with international clients. It's been quite a fun learning experience for us. And then tips for successful interviews, because obviously their interviewing style is different and unique. So we'd like to share what we've experienced. We'll have some Q&A at the end. So I'd encourage you, if you have any questions, to just pop them into the chat box, and we will try our best to answer as many questions as we can. And we will do lucky draws at the end as well, for all of those that are still on the call. So I hope that everybody's okay with that. I hope that you all are muted, comfortable, and that we are good to go. I'm just checking, can everybody see the slides? All good? Okay, perfect. Okay, so just to introduce myself, and so that you know that I have some experience about what I'm talking about. I'm a specialist recruiter at Pro Talent Recruitment. I also manage the team, and I have 4 years of specialist recruitment experience, but before that I was in HR for many years as a generalist. I've got a BCom degree specializing in HR and marketing, and I believe that I'm in my dream job of placing people into jobs. How that landscape has changed has been quite an adventure, but literally every day we change lives, and that's what we pride ourselves on. Adrian, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, thanks, Rose. Sorry, I had a bit of a technical issue with the slide, just getting it on just now. So that took a few seconds. But thanks for the introduction. As Rose mentioned, we're in our dream jobs. We get to help people, find success, find a career progression, find better jobs, change their lifestyle. So, definitely something we pride ourselves on at Pro Talent. So just a little bit about me. I'm the IT specialist recruiter at Pro Talent. I've been with the company just going on 5 years now. I've got a diverse career history. Started working, I think, 22 years ago after finishing college. I studied teaching at the time, and then HR management. I also had a random job for 6 years. I don't know if that counts as random, but I was an assistant train driver at Transnet, and then made a huge decision after that and left for the UK, where I spent 10 years working in HR, working in education technology, and recruitment specifically. So, a lot of experience from that, and I think that was just a turning point for me. But I realized when I came back, or toward the end of it, reason for coming back was I wanted to bring that experience with me. I wanted to bring that sort of international exposure back to my country of origin, and finding Pro Talent was definitely helped me do that. So, Rose.
Okay, so thanks for that introduction, Adrian. I think we've got some good topics to cover today, and I'm going to get right into it. But before I do, there are some people that are having issues with audio. I just want to check if everyone's okay. Adrian, are you seeing the comments in the chat? I just want to check if everyone's okay on audio.
Yeah, I'm checking that. Just
okay.
Still allowing people into the webinar as well. So
Okay. So I'm firstly going to speak about why there's been an increase in remote international vacancies in South Africa. I think we all know, it's common knowledge now that we've had this pandemic that we've had to go through for the last 2.5 years or so. And that has caused quite an increase in remote roles in our own country as well. But the bigger learning from an international point is that international companies are now realizing they don't have to have their workforce in their own country. So, they are now looking at other countries, not just South Africa, but they're looking internationally to look at having workforces that are global. So lots of countries use other countries and have global teams that work together for various positions. So yes, again, the pandemic has created opportunity for our country, for other countries to invest in our country from a staffing point, and that's created opportunity for candidates as well. South African labor is cost effective. I think from a salary point, from a benefits point, we are more cost effective than the first world countries, let's say. So that's attractive for a lot of our international clients. Less conflict, increased productivity. This is specifically for employees that have felt, or for employers rather, that have felt there's a lot of conflict and clashes in terms of personality. This has just alleviated all of that in the sense that their people work from home and can focus, and obviously that increases productivity. South Africa, so good news, great news actually. We were pleasantly surprised to learn this. South Africans have a reputation of being hardworking, self-managed, and committed compared to staff in other countries. So hopefully nobody international is watching this, but a lot of our clients, both Adrian and I, because we deal with a lot of the international clients, have said, we hear that, you guys are really hardworking, very committed, and, output is a lot, or even attitudes is a lot better than what we experience in our country. And then they've had international exposure. So international companies have had exposure to our country because, Adrian and I made a joke about it the other day. We watch a lot of TV shows and movies that tell us a lot about, let's say, the American culture or how people in the UK live, as an example, but they don't know a lot about us. So, when I started my initial meetings with my client in the USA, he never heard of load shedding or the looting that we've been through, or in fact, he even asked me, are you from India? How do you sound like that? And that was so laughable for us because we're so used to speaking the way we do. But his perception was that if you're Indian, you're from India and you have a very strong Indian accent. So that was quite a surprise to him that I've got quite a neutral accent. So for international companies, it's exposure into our country and how we live, how we work, how we conduct ourselves, and how we communicate as well. One of the things we've learned is that in their countries, they have a lower unemployment rate. So it's more difficult to find skilled staff or to find staff in general because the larger part of the population is employed and more difficult to bring across to their countries. And again, we've got neutral accents, which is a good thing because if you're working for an international client, you're going to be working their hours, dealing with their clients, and you need to be able to communicate effectively, which we are able to do because we have quite neutral accents. So that's been the benefit to them. Benefit to South African candidates, cost saving. I think that's the biggest benefit with the petrol costs that we have. And that's been a big draw card with a lot of our candidates in that they don't have to spend 3,000 to 4,000 Rand a month on petrol to travel to work and back. So that's been an amazing cost saving for our candidates. Increase in work productivity. So they find that they can have good focus, work productively rather, if they work from home in a home office setup. It's allowed them to have flexibility and better work-life balance because they can work the hours that suit them the best. And they don't have to spend lots of time sitting in traffic and being frustrated about all of that. So, when we looked at the stats, we've seen that 63% of South African professionals say that productivity increased while working from home, and 31% say that productivity stayed the same, even though they had to transition and they had to set up a home office or have a work set up at home due to the pandemic. And then they are also loving the international exposure to companies, their benefits, their culture, their way of thinking and learning as well. So that's what we've seen are the benefits to South Africans, to the South African candidate market. Just some stats that we've put together or we've come across with regards to how productivity has been affected or increased by remote working. So 87% did not reduce their working hours. 87% of people did not reduce their working hours. I think the one to note is that 71% of people prefer flexible working, and it has become very important to them. So just some stats for you to have a look at. Okay, I'm going to hand you over to Adrian, and he's going to talk on where to look for international remote work opportunities. Adrian?
Thanks, Rose. So, where does anybody start with anything these days? Straight into Google, right? And you can see there, I just typed in remote work and Google predictive text based on what the trends are or what people are searching. If you typed in remote work in South Africa at this moment, remote work South Africa, remote working jobs, remote working jobs Durban, remote work from home. So this is a trending search for sure, right? So most people are very keen to look for flexible working opportunities, especially internationally. So if you look at the statistics, 16% of companies globally are now fully remote, and that's a massive number if you really think about it. But what does that mean for us? I think what that means is there's more opportunity to get stuck in. You can probably be working in Mauritius and work for a company in Canada. I know I've got a friend of mine who's a SAP consultant, and he's actually leaving for Canada this month because he was working remotely for the company, and they just want him to invite him to the company for a few months. So he's going to be doing that for the next couple of months. So there's a lot of opportunities. He went from working remotely to now at least having an opportunity with them for a couple of months and then come back home. But what other roles are suited to remote work? So for a long time, virtual assistants have been around. So that there's nothing technically new with that, but I think that has definitely increased the employment opportunities or the opportunities internationally. You can work as personal administrators, personal assistants. If you're an Excel whiz, you can take that skill to the market as well. The employer market internationally. Definitely programmers and developers. I think we've known this for a long time as well. Cybersecurity consultants. There's a lot more. I've got 2 clients specifically in Australia and US that have a need for cybersecurity consultants, which also means.
Hi, morning.
Good morning, Katya.
Yes.
So more people joining in, so welcome everyone. So as I was saying, there's a lot of opportunities, and the roles that would be best suited for remote work, web designers, web developers. So a lot of IT functionality actually can be outsourced to other countries. Within digital marketing or marketing, copywriters, content writers, content creators, social media managers, and there's a long list. But these are pretty much the major roles and opportunities that we can see for ourselves. Translators as well. So we also.
Yes.
Hi, hello.
Okay. Hello.
Is it right?
And I'm doing it on my phone. I'm going to probably run out.
Cool. If we can just remind everybody to keep themselves on mute for the rest of the webinar, and we'll engage in Q&A at the end. So I've done some research, and apart from the roles and vacancies and the clients that I'm working with internationally at the moment, which obviously we've engaged in and been working for well over 18 months already, there are some specific websites that one can go on to look for jobs that you are skilled in. So for example, gun.io, software engineers, developers, project managers can go onto that site and look for remote opportunities. Stack Overflow has also been around for quite a while, and again, developers, programmers already know that avenue. Media Bistro is relatively new, but this is again, copywriters, marketers, graphic designers, those types of opportunities you'll find on there. Journalism jobs. Journalism also has been, more familiar within the remote space. People have been freelancing for, other magazines, newspapers across the world. So it's not technically new, but definitely there's been a spike, growth in that space for remote workers. And then just general tech or technical and technology type work you can find on Dice. And I'm going to try and see if I can go onto one of these websites just to show you as well what they look like. And if I can't share this, you'll just have to bear with me. See if we can try and do this. Remote.co is very similar websites, remote.co, justremote.co. I don't know if everybody can see this, but yes. Rose, this is okay, right? Cool. So very straightforward, learn. If you haven't been exposed, don't know anything about remote work, the websites are very informative and very clear and very easy to navigate through. Types of jobs you can probably go on. Design jobs, you can see there, graphic designer, motion graphics, video editing, IT jobs, technical writer, developer jobs, and a whole list of vacancies. And we'll talk later about how you can, best showcase your skill set and present your skill set in more detail later on. But I just want to give you a quick sort of overview of what this might look like in terms of, or what some of these websites might look like in terms of how you can go on, register for, and then keep updated on those new opportunities that might, be suitable to you. See if I can just go back to my slide. Is everybody on my slide again? Cool. LinkedIn as well, another opportunity, another avenue, a medium you can use for remote jobs. And if you just typed in remote jobs, let's say USA, and any location, in fact, Canada, Australia, Europe, England, United Kingdom, wherever you'd like, or whichever country you'd like to sort of get exposure in, you can probably type that in there and get those remote. And you'll see on the side advertising media buyer, United States, remote, and just very straightforward, easy apply, and engage with people in those companies. So those are just two that I've shown you, but and we'll share some of these links and slides with you afterwards, just so you have them at hand and you can investigate and research on your own. But what's been our experience so far? So ProTalent is very fortunate that we have an international business network that we can sort of tap into, and they've been very, very accommodating and definitely working well and engaging with us. Like Rose said, yeah, they understand South Africans' sort of culture in terms of work ethic, and that's what stood out. And obviously, time zones is a huge plus. With the UK and Europe, we're only an hour difference. With US and Australia, it's a little bit tricky, and Rose can explain more on that. But so far, we've successfully recruited for property administrators, IT network engineers. In fact, more so from with my clients, ops managers, cybersecurity, sales, cybersecurity consultants, developers, programmers. We've also had to adopt and learn new ways of recruiting. We've learned how to use international CRMs using their technology, their systems. So it's definitely benefited us, ProTalent, in more ways than we would have thought. It's definitely brought more international exposure to our business as well, so that's a good thing. We've learned our international clients' recruitment processes. They're very robust, very stringent. They have a process that they follow. They have a process for shortlisting. With my Australian and UK clients, again, very tricky because I've got to have meetings 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes, or 9 o'clock at night sometimes. But the fact that they engage with us this well and you know, are very accommodating in communication means that they definitely want to partner with that. So I think, you know, even in this webinar, the purpose is to inform you and just create awareness that there's loads of opportunities out there, and we just need to know where to look and how to go about presenting ourselves. So we've also had to collaborate with our partners and other service providers in South Africa. So from payroll, tax, legal perspective, you know, helping our clients with contracts as well. So we've had to do that, and we've had to collaborate and just maybe more, you know, expand our network in that area. So some of the industries I mentioned, IT. Rose has also, I think, had a warehousing and logistics sales in the UK. We've got property management clients in the US, cybersecurity software consultants in Australia, project managers, civil engineering consulting firms in Australia, and hospitality in Europe. So lots happening in different spaces, and it's quite a broad spectrum so far, and that's a growing list, I think, or we hope. Cool. So that's that for now. I'll hand you over to Rose.
Thank you, Adrian. That was quite informative, and I think everybody wants to know, you know, where to look, because one of the comments on the chat was, you know, there's so many scams out there. There's scams even with our normal local or national opportunities as well. So I think we definitely will be sharing those links with you after the webinar, just so that, you know, people have an idea of where to go and look, that are like LinkedIn is reputable, and we know this, but there are definitely other sites that, you know, you can look on and do your research. I think that's the most important thing, is just doing your research on the sites or the service providers that you decide to use for these opportunities as well. You know, I'm going to be speaking on requirements and expectations working with international clients, but before I get to the points that are on the slide, some of my experiences being that they really want to partner with South Africa because of wanting to have a partnership with the country where they believe is developing and new to them from a culture point. So, you know, there's the clients that I've dealt with have definitely expressed that they want to trust, you know, employees from another country altogether, being our country, and you know, and want to sort of believe that they would have a better staff complement because they're coming from our country that has this reputation. I've also find that they're very, very advanced in their thinking, very thorough. So that's been our challenge, is learning, you know, the way they talk, their concepts, the way they explain what they're looking for, because some of the terms are different to what we used to. But the one thing that I think Adrian will agree with me on is that they're very thorough and very clear on what they want. The clients that I've dealt with are almost non-negotiable on certain things, and just very clear in terms of the type of employees that they're wanting for their company, because they've been dealing with lots of countries and had lots of learning. So when they're coming to us now, they are very happy to say no for whatever reason, because they know what works for them. So just some of the requirements that I want to touch on is, firstly, very importantly, the different time zones. So, you know, these opportunities are very attractive, but it's important for people to understand how it will affect your lifestyle in many ways because of the different time zones. So like Adrian said, the UK is 1 hour behind, not so bad. But like for the US at the moment, their working hours are 3 p.m. to midnight, and that can change. Australia is midnight to 9 a.m. in the morning. So, you know, I think these things are important to understand. You've got to have a lifestyle that allows you to work these hours, because for a mom that needs to cook dinner and, you know, see or help kids with homework and that sort of thing, these time zones don't work. So they don't work for everyone, but they definitely work for a lot of candidates, and a lot of our candidates that we've placed are quite happy to work these hours. You've got to be well equipped with a home office setup. So they are so specific. The clients that we deal with are so specific in sending us exactly what they want, which has been also learning for us in terms of RAM, in terms of how old your laptop is allowed to be, headphones, whatever sort of requirements you need to be set up, to the point where they ask for a photo of your home office. That's how particular they are, or how detailed they are in terms of the requirements. So you definitely need to be set up at home to work from home. And they've expressed that in some countries they have had employees that have had kids running around while trying to work, or people talking and that sort of thing. And the one thing I've realized with the USA clients specifically that I'm dealing with is that, or one of our USA clients, is that they have a system where you're on video all day, all day in terms of your working hours. You're on video, so they can see you at any time and you can see the team, the global team at any time. So I suppose, they've got to be able to trust that you are sitting at your desk and working and not doing other things during working hours. So they've also got these measures in place to make sure that people are productive, even though they're from a different country. So the home office setup for the roles that we have are non-negotiable. And we've had to regret a lot of clients that don't have a specific type of laptop, or a laptop that's not less than 3 years old. And they have to have a specific RAM, UPS, specific Wi-Fi or fiber internet connectivity over LAN. So that's how specific they are in terms of what they wanting from the candidate, because they also don't want to have issues once they've appointed, and then there's all these network issues as well. So all of those boxes need to be ticked, and is part of our shortlisting process before we can even consider a candidate for employment. From a skills point, what we found is they want you to have the skills that they want in that specific field. So like sometimes our South African or our national clients might be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to skills, because they can maybe see potential for the candidate, or a candidate that seems like a good culture fit. But what we're finding with our international clients is that they are particular about the skills, that you've got to have related experience, and they're non-negotiable on this. So again, we've had to regret a lot of candidates based on this, but this is not in our control. They look for candidates with a stable track record. This has been such an eye-opener for us as the recruiters in the office, because when we started out, what's acceptable for us in our country, where if a person moves every 2 years, shows progression, they seem like a bit of a job hopper, but it's okay, we'll still consider them. Non-negotiable, especially for the clients in the USA. They want people that have been in jobs for 3 to 4, 5 years. They want to see longevity. They want to see commitment. I've had to explain, we've had a lot of meetings back and forth to explain that, South Africans are very progressive and they like to move after a few years and that sort of thing. So there's been some trying to shift, but generally they don't consider candidates that have like a year of employment or period of employment of a year for their last 3 or 4 jobs. I've had to explain to them that we've had COVID, and that's obviously changed the market, and people have been retrenched, contracts have been ended. So they are somewhat understanding to the last 2.5 or 3 years. But before that, candidates must have longevity in their CVs, and that, again, they've regretted a lot of candidates that we thought were good enough because they are non-negotiable about that. So in some ways, their thinking is different to ours, but again, that's their requirement. Maturity is very, very important. So the way you come across, and just, they ask a lot of questions about your family and what's important to you, your value system, that sort of thing, because they want to make sure that you are mature, and also that you're going to be responsible with the job that they're entrusting you with as well. Effective communication, absolutely important, and not because they want to be prejudice in any way, but it's just because you're going to have to communicate with people in their country. So if you've got a very strong accent, communication becomes a big issue because they're not able to understand what you're saying. So they look for people who speak well and have good written skills as well, because generally you speak or you write the way you speak. So they look for effective communication skills, because example that the USA client is in the property management industry, and you'll be dealing with subcontractors in their country for the projects that they're busy with. So if you're not able to manage that project and communicate effectively with all of their subcontractors, then that becomes difficult for them. Goes without saying, they need you to be disciplined, self-managed, and independent, and have a good work ethic, because again, they're not in the same office as you, they're in a whole other country, and they expect you to be responsible with the work that you have been given. And we've found that they have very effective measuring tools or management systems that they implement for their teams globally. And I think they would have had to do this because obviously everyone's not sitting in the same location. They love proactive candidates. Like when interviewing and they ask questions and the candidate comes across as proactive, they absolutely love that. So not reactive, more proactive, and people that think out the box and that come across as enthusiastic about the job. That's what we've seen in terms of their requirements. Adrian, do you want to just touch on some of the platforms and management systems that we've been exposed to?
Yes, thanks, Rose. Most of us will probably know some of these platforms already. We've been using it, but Trello is definitely prominent. Slack, Zoom, and Teams for obvious reasons, right? Since 2020, almost everybody had to learn and got to learn how to use Teams and Zoom. But Trello and Slack from messaging, connecting with your teams abroad or remote, is definitely, I think we need to learn more. And the thing with learning new platforms or learning new systems is we don't necessarily need to do a course on this. If you go on YouTube and just type in, training videos for Trello, training videos for Slack, or whatever incident management system or project management system or CRM system that you might not be familiar with, or you saw in a job description that you haven't heard of and you want to do some research on, go onto YouTube and just type in a training video for whatever that platform is, and you'll get a 10-minute overview of that. So make yourself familiar is what we're saying on tech platforms that we maybe South Africans are not using, but it's definitely needed when you're working remotely. And be prepared for video presentation. So much like what we're doing now, our team has had to change. I mean, in 2020, we've done more webinars than you can think, and interviews and client meetings. So we've had to learn very quickly and adapt to this new way of working. Video presentation, putting PowerPoint slides, presenting our business to our clients. So we've had to do that as well. Be mindful that some companies or some international opportunities may require you to send in a 1-minute video. So they may have I think there is a platform that we use in South Africa called, I forget, anyway, the name of the company. But what it does is basically you signing into a portal, uploading a quick 1-minute video, uploading your CV, or just answering a few basic questions, and then submitting that to the client, and they get to review that on the other side and get to see you, and then schedule first, second technical interviews, whatever the case may be, moving forward. And then, as Rose mentioned, remote working needs us to be disciplined, focused, and self-managing. That's crucial. And you have to ask yourself, if I'm putting myself forward for an opportunity overseas, or for putting myself forward for a remote opportunity, I'm going to have to commit to a lot of things. The tiniest meetings, the maybe early morning meetings. Am I focused work? Am I going to be self-managed? You have to be autonomous, and there's not going to be anybody micromanaging and chasing you. So these are good things. I think the more we're learning, the more we're growing, for sure. So do some research, take some of these things down, or just like I showed you before, the job opportunities, go onto the websites and check out the job descriptions. And from the job descriptions, you'll get to see what the requirements are. And from those requirements, you can then do your research as well. But here's some tips for landing the ideal remote job. As you can imagine, the world's shrunk a lot, in terms of job opportunities. So the competition with that is going to be higher for remote. And if we've got 33 people on this webinar right now, it means 33 people are wanting to know about remote job opportunities. But that's 33 on this webinar. There's thousands, if not millions, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, across the world. So it's going to be very competitive. You now competing at an international level. And as Rose mentioned, our skill set have got to be presented well, and not only that, our communication to match that. You have to stand out in your job application. You have to show how you can present or work or be innovative in presenting your skill set. So from putting together 1-minute videos or 2-minute videos of yourself presenting over PowerPoint, developers and programmers will know what GitHub is. Designers and digital marketers or graphic designers and video editors might know what behance.net is, where you can add your portfolio online and then send that to a client for them to review and then assess from there, assess you from there. But your CV, I think this is general information anyway, but it should have a profile photo. I know in South Africa there's no set in stone on this, but I think for remote opportunities there should be a profile photo there. Should add your location, definitely your social media profiles, your LinkedIn handle, and then your personal bio and list of skills. And definitely languages that you speak. So let's say you are looking at a remote opportunity in Spain, and the fact that you can speak Spanish, will definitely help for obvious reasons. So don't omit any details that you think would be unnecessary. Definitely focus, make it focused to the job you're applying for. But then show them that you have a broad or versatile skill set as well, and that you can commit to working this time zone. It has happened with us where candidates have gone or started the process, but then had to withdraw from the process because just a time constraint. And it is what it is, So it's a huge lifestyle change to work 3 p.m. to midnight or midnight to 9 o'clock. So make sure that you can commit yourself in that way. And then on your CV, add in your salary range or salary requirement. I think that might help as well, just to benchmark you in terms of your the opportunity you're applying for and skills that you have. So Rose, you want to share on what happened at an interview?
Thanks, Adrian. So we've had lots of interviews that have happened with candidates and lots of learnings for us as well. And I think in general, a lot of the same principles apply, whether it's a national or international opportunity. But just on the first one, before the webinar could start, Adrian and I had a technical difficulty, and it totally throws you off course. When you sort of prepared for this meeting or interview, and then you have this technical issue, and then you have to run around trying to figure out what to do. So we always tell our candidates, for whatever opportunity you present or you're going to be interviewed for, log on a few minutes early, check your video, audio. Some of you have had issues with audio and video when we started, so that adjustment needed time. Make sure you have a good background. You would be so surprised at the things that we see as recruiters in terms of our candidates and how they come across. So if you don't have a good background for whatever reason, Teams and Zoom give you all of these options that you can choose from. Just make sure that you're in a professional space, because when you're being interviewed on Teams or Zoom or any other platform, what they see around you and how you present yourself is all they have. They're not meeting you physically, so they will take all of these things into consideration when you're being interviewed for a position. So make sure that the background is not the reason you actually didn't get the job. So I think it's important for us to present ourselves professionally at all times. Keep the noise level and distraction levels, or be distraction free. So you don't want people walking around, or you don't want the interviewer to say, I actually can't hear you because of voices or dogs barking or whatever the case may be. So make sure that you're in a space that is quiet and allows you to focus, because sometimes even when I'm interviewing a candidate, I'll be talking to them, but then their eyes move to some other place and they seem somewhat distracted. That in itself can be a deterrent for clients, and our international clients are even more critical of us than national clients, because they sort of know what to expect, but with an international client, they don't know what to expect. So they're going to be critical of everything that you present when you in an interview itself. Again, researching the person who will be interviewing you is very important. And that goes without saying for whatever opportunity that you are going to be presented for. But like one of our clients, I think it was one of our UK clients, mentioned that, the candidate did research, and I was quite impressed that he knew exactly what I did. So never ever underestimate the power of doing research on a person that person that's interviewing you, or the company that you're being interviewed for. Again, confident, open body language is key. We've had candidates being rejected just because they slouchy, or they don't speak clearly, or they seem too much of an introvert. and they don't speak confidently. All of these things are, in fact, to be honest with you, communication skills is key. And sometimes the main reason people hire. So one of our clients will say, I don't need related job experience. I don't need, I don't have any expectations. All I need is a person that speaks clearly and communicates energetically, and just has a bubbliness about them, because it's in many ways a sales role. So again, the first and most important thing does become how you communicate, how you present yourself, how you come across in terms of confidence. Keep the camera a good distance away. So I've had a client that came back to me to say all you could see was the nostrils of the candidate throughout the interview, because the camera was right, in front of the person. So just be aware, look at what you look like, adjust your laptop, because sometimes we're using our phones and we're sitting in our cars or in a small little space, and then we're trying to see. I always recommend using a laptop. It's a lot better, but sometimes you don't have that luxury. But just be careful that you're not too close to the camera, because again, that you need to. The employer or the employer would want to see at least as much of you as they can in an interview. So being able to have like a full upper body view of you is important. Be prepared for relevant. Just be prepared for any type of question, as you would prepare for any interview. I think it's further down in the slides, but there are specific types of interviews that they do ask for. I think Adrian is going to touch on that, so that's fine. And then I think it's important to make sure that you are again speaking clearly and understanding that they don't understand a lot of our South African terms. So a lot of terms that I would just freely use because I understand them or expect the client to understand. And then he's like, sorry, what does that mean? I don't understand. Please, can you explain that to me? And then I have to go back. And some of the things that I've had to explain has been such so interesting. And what we take for granted, they don't understand. And sometimes it's hard for me to explain it. I just battle to explain certain things, but we try. So don't just take for granted that the person that's interviewing you or the employer that's international understands what you mean when you say, sorry, we had load shedding, so I couldn't work or that's my issue at the moment, or whatever the case may be, because a lot of things need to be explained to them. Adrian, you want to touch on this a little bit?
Unmute. Remember to unmute. So yeah, as Rose explained, successful interviews, right? And I think most of us are mature enough to know and have been experienced enough in interviews to know some of the general things that you want to avoid or bring or be prepared on. But definitely from a CV perspective, employment dates are important, job descriptions are important reasons for leaving. It's very important. And employment dates, not just the year 2011 to 2012, because that could be December 2011 and January 2012. So it's just 2 months, but to be clear in the month and the year, and then start and end point. Definitely, get to know yourself already. Write a bio about yourself, write maybe a half pager on yourself, and then sort of repeat that to yourself, just remember. Because when that question comes up, tell me about yourself. A lot of people get stumped by that, and it's it's surprising. But then I think nervousness kicks in as well. But the more prepared you are, the better off you'll be. And then when it comes to skill set, you have to display confidence in that. If you have to know the technology that goes behind what you're about to do. If you're committing to copywriting of a job opportunity, then everything that comes with it, digital marketing, for example, SEO, PPC, there's all these acronyms that if you don't know what you're applying for, I'd rather go in prepared and be knowledgeable in your skill set. Definitely use past experiences, or always in any interview setting, in fact, always illustrate from your past experience, your achievements, your successes, what made you, what caused you to do well, what propelled you to get a promotion in your previous job, for example. So always highlight that. I know most of us don't like to brag or boast too much about ourselves, but again, the more, if we write it down very clearly on our CV and just repeat it back to ourselves, I think that just creates the confidence, and people want to see that. People want to hear. When you're in an interview in any space, there's only two of you. So, and you only get that one opportunity to highlight and showcase and boast or brag about yourself. So a little self-promotion is not going to do you any harm, I can assure you. Be prepared for behavioral type questions, so where they'll ask you about scenarios and situations. There's an acronym that we use within recruitment: STAR: situation, task, action, and result. So always think about, when you're illustrating from previous experience, think along those lines. What was the situation? What was the task I was involved in? What was the action that I took? What was the result and the outcome? And you can, if you sort of paint that sort of picture when you're describing a particular situation, then it becomes more clear to the interviewer, and they have a visual of your previous job or that previous success or achievement. And definitely enthusiasm and excitement. This is something that we can't iterate anymore. Again, from any type of interview, whether it's nationally or internationally. Just showing a bit of enthusiasm and being positive, and saying, oh, what an opportunity it is. Like the next point says, be grateful for the opportunity that you were even selected. It takes a lot for a candidate to get selected for an interview, and we go through a shortlisting, very rigid and robust shortlisting process. So when candidates turn up for the interview and they don't come across as excited or excitable or enthusiastic enough, it sort of dumbs down the process by that point, because the CV was good, the technical assessment was good, and now the interview is it really slows down things. So be mindful of that you want to show your energy and you want to display your best self. Like I said, be grateful for the opportunity. During the interview or after the interview, maybe even send a quick note or an email to say, how much you enjoyed meeting that person and how much you are grateful for the opportunity. So, yeah, from those points, I think just your general demeanor has got to be a certain way. The communication, the delivery of who you are in an interview is really important. So, yeah, brings us to the end. Rose?
Yeah, I think we're going to tackle some questions that we can answer as quickly as we can, but just also to just sort of finish off that, our experience with our international clients has been that they are quite passionate about developing people in our country. Like, for some reason, South Africa just seems very interesting to them, and they definitely are saying to us, we want to have a team in your country. So it's not to waste anyone's time. And that is why they are very, very specific about what they want. And Adrian and I, we're not proclaiming to be experts in any way, but we thought it's important for us to share on what we've experienced and our, and the clients that we've dealt with. So we can share on what we know, and basically it's been a lot about what we've experienced so far as well. Adrian, are there any questions you want to tackle so far that you're seeing on the chat?
Yes, Rose. So there was a question about what short courses or where to look for short courses. And I think that's a question that can never be a no. If there's any opportunity to learn, grab it. If there's any avenue that you or medium that you can use that you can access learning, like I mentioned, training videos on YouTube, they're free. But you can go on Udemy, you can go on Coursera and look at those short courses. And what they do is they set you up for the next training. Right? There might not be a certificate or a diploma or at any entry level, but what it does is it opens up your mind to a new skill. So do the foundations, and definitely helps to bulk up your CV in that way as well. And the more you do that, it also shows. So, like for example, a lot happened in 2020 where people, were retrenched, and for whatever reasons, jobs were scarce, but they used that time to go and upskill. And the fact that you did that and you show that on your CV speaks volume to clients and interviewers and recruiters like ourselves. It basically shows that you've taken the time to go and learn a new skill, or invested in yourself in that way.
I see LinkedIn is also offering a lot, Adrian, in terms of short courses, just articles that they're sharing, and learning is on this topic as well. So that's maybe another avenue people can use.
Yeah. And there was another question about should a CV be a one-pager? Should it, Rose?
I think that, if it's too short, it's a problem. And if it's too long, it's a problem. So maybe we should just my advice is that a CV should be 2 to 3 pages. That's what I believe, because it's also difficult when you have 2 CVs. So I think one short, concise CV, 2 to 3 pages, where your current experience is fleshed out a little bit more, but the previous jobs that you've had are not long, or 10 to 12 duties, or whatever the case may be, is important, because sometimes you can disadvantage yourself by leaving out key things because you're trying to shorten the CV to 1 page. And then sometimes if the CV is too long, it just obviously is not looked at because it's just too much to read. So just being in between is important, because if it's in an attractive enough format, which you get a lot of these free online templates where you can have a place for your photo and it sort of makes it quite concise. If it's 2 to 3 pages, then it's attractive enough for employers or recruiters to want to read. That's my opinion.
There was the other question about salaries and how do you promote yourself? Do you market yourself in South African terms or market yourself in international terms? And I think, when you're looking at the sites that I showed you before, that they will generally put in the salaries that they're going to offer there, generally. And then, but be realistic on salaries. The reason they want to invest or want to employ in South Africa is because they want to save on their side as well. So we have to be mindful about that fact. It is competitive. Think about the rates that you are happy with, and would be, that would help your lifestyle and be accommodating to you, and work from there. Cool. So I think we're very close to nearing the end. So, yeah, and sorry, just on the questions, if we didn't get to all of your questions, we'll share our details, our contact information at the end anyway, and we're more than happy to continue the conversations offline and speak to you on a one-on-one basis.
Perfect. Thanks, Adrian. Just the one last question that was asked, I just want to try and answer quickly before we move on to the lucky draw, is should you put your photo on your CV? Research has shown that a CV with a photo has better reach. So maybe do some research on that. It doesn't have to be a large photo, it just can be a small one on the corner or whatever the case may be. But especially for international opportunities, I would encourage you to put your photo on your CV. We really want to thank everybody for taking the time, to join us, because it is sometimes difficult during the day. And for that reason, we wanted to do a lucky draw, and we have 2 prizes to give out. And, I think these books are absolutely amazing, and very, very inspiring and motivational. Both books that you're seeing on your screen, How to Be Unstoppable and How Does She Do It, have been written by our CEO. The latest one is How Does She Do It? And to reward you for joining us and for listening to us and for allowing us to share our insight and our experiences with our client, we're going to do a lucky draw. And I'm just going to use my phone that has a randomizer to just pick a number, because when you registered for the webinar, I allocated a number to you. And if you're still on the call, then we will get the prize couriered to you. So the first lucky draw is for the How to Be Unstoppable book. And I'm just going to choose the number 25, which is Susan Nell. Is Susan still on the call? Just checking. Susan, can you maybe just let me know? I'm finding you, maybe on the chat. No. Okay, so we're going to try another number. I've got number 19, which is Viv Green. Is Viv on the call still? No, I just wanted to. So Susan is there. Okay, Susan, we're going to give you this book. And this is the How to Be Unstoppable. And if Viv Green is on the call, she was the second person that was chosen. Let me know. If not, I'll draw again. Okay, I'm not seeing her.
I think Viv is.
Is Viv on the
Viv,
call?
if you can just share in the chat that you're still online.
I can actually see Viv on the call. Adrian, can you see her?
I can. We can message her directly.
Okay, I'll message her directly. So congratulations to Susan and Viv, and we will get the books couriered to you. Again, we want to thank everybody for making the time to listen to us, and we hope that you have found value in what we've shared. If you have any questions, please email me directly, because I think my email address is on the, Adrian is sharing our details. I think you are going to share our details. Yeah, so, you feel free to contact us, get in touch, email. We definitely will respond. We will answer where we can. And we look forward to hearing from you. I hope that everyone has a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Rose, and thanks to everyone that participated today. Thank you for your questions. They were very helpful and engaging, and we hope to speak to you soon. So feel free to get in touch. Our email addresses are on there, phone number, website, LinkedIn, profiles, well, whatever contact details you need, and however you want to contact us, feel free to connect, and we'll speak soon. Take care. Have a good day further.
Thank you.
Yes, bye-bye. Now